Morning everyone, and welcome back to another YouTube video. For any of you guys that are new here, my name is Levi. Now welcome to episode 2 of Diet Trying. So it's not like day 2, but it's episode 2. But anyway, so as you saw, we weighed in at 79.50 kilograms, about like 178, I would say, pounds. I don't use kilograms because I'm not from like the UK or Europe. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I just don't really know kilograms too well. Anyway, so we weighed in at that, which is actually, 3 pounds lighter than my highest, which was like 181. And I actually lost a couple pounds because I was in Idaho. For some of you guys that don't know, on my YouTube, if you guys aren't following my Instagram, follow that, because you'll stay a lot more up to date with like my life, because it's a lot easier to post a picture on my story or what's going on currently, like really fast in my life, rather than going, here's a whole video that I edited just to tell you guys for today. So yeah, follow my Instagram if you guys haven't already. So we're gonna be recording every weigh-in on this sheet right here, so 79.5 kilograms. Yeah, that's where we're at this morning. It'll kind of be exciting to see in the next 2 weeks how fast that number drops. Alright, so finally we decided to pick up a pair of squat shoes. I've wanted a pair of squat shoes since I was working out at TCC when I first started all this, which was over like 2 years ago now. So I finally just decided to invest in them, and they say these Adidas ones are pretty good. I've used them once before. My squat actually shot up so much after I was using them. It actually caused me to use a lot more of my quads than I thought I was going to use. I felt like I activated my hammies in the proper way, instead of using like other shoes where I can kind of like go on my toes a little more and kind of like almost use my calves a little bit and quote unquote like cheat. Actually really nice. I'm glad I invested in them. If you guys are interested in them, just look up like Adidas squat shoe. They fit true to size. I got a size 9, fit true to size. They're like the perfect fit. The heel grab on is perfect too. Get them on Amazon, or I got mine on eBay. I actually found mine on eBay cheaper for like 70 bucks. The reason I got these, not only because I wanted them, is because we have a powerlifting meet coming up, and I just want to get the most optimal training for it. So if I'm going to get the most optimal training, I'm going to get the most optimal gear. So yeah, we're not going to train super heavy today either. I kind of got like a boo-boo right here, and I know it doesn't look like much, but this knee also hurts too. I have like a flag football thing that I do on Sundays, which I put in one of the videos before, and this got kind of bruised up. So take it easy. You're not going to go for a PR today, but we're definitely going to go heavy. Now, I mentioned this in a previous video. Whenever I do lunges, after I do the lunges, I superset it with the wall sit. And the wall sit's about 60 seconds. Just pull out your phone, press the start button, and dive. My vacuum sucks. So this is a physique update. on episode 2. Feeling pretty good, just a little tired today, that's all. Leg day was pretty solid. As you can see, got a little scrape up on my arm. This is the second time this arm's actually gotten screwed up, but yeah, I'd show the legs, but they're so pumped that I can't really even flex them. Yeah, sitting at about 13-14% body fat still probably, but we're gonna make it down to like all right, well, before we get started, I just want to let you guys know that I'm rocking some merch that I made. This is the first shirt that I have for Die Trying. I'll let you guys see the back real quick too. And then there's this headband right here we got as well. A lot of you guys voted headband on the Instagram. If you guys aren't following the Instagram yet, be sure to go follow that. But yeah, a lot of you guys voted for a headband for whatever reason. That was like the most common one. I don't know if it's because I used to wear a headband back when like I first started social media, or a lot of you guys have long hair. I'm not really too sure what it is. Stay tuned for that. It should be coming out in May. I'm gonna do a photo shoot then with one of my buddies that lives around my area. And yeah, it's gonna be pretty sick. Just stay updated. Obviously, watch the YouTube, watch the IG, and I'll put like a release date at some point. Something that I've always wanted to talk about on this channel, but just never got around to doing it, is the topic of weed and or smoking weed. Now, the reason that I've never talked about, even though it's been something I've wanted to talk about ever since I started this YouTube channel, is because of family. I just don't want to have my family, because my family does watch my videos, I don't want to have my family, you know, hear some of the things I've done, but at the same time, I felt that this video was very good information to share with people to help make better decisions and inform people on some of the experiences that I've been through. And I've talked about mental health. Obviously, my channel is huge on physical health, and I just kind of wanted to share my experiences with smoking weed and the impacts that it had on both of those things. Anyway, before we get into background and like my story and my experience with it, I'm just gonna share some facts about it just so that we're all informed and up to date with what weed is. So weed, what is it composed of? So there's this thing called THC. I'm gonna zoom in really quick. THC, it's a psychoactive component in marijuana. It's what gives you that high, and I'm pretty sure most of you guys have known that. And then there's something else in it called CBD. It's like the feeling of well-being. In other words, I just said it has no real reaction, or your body has no real reaction to it. So, and I also wrote down some facts about the mental health links, because that's gonna be the biggest thing here that we talk about. So the thing about THC is when it's in low doses, it's actually proven to calm anxiety, but it's only for short-term benefits. So if you're someone who has anxiety and you smoke weed to get rid of that anxiety, you're only getting rid of that anxiety for a short period of time. Kind of like if you take medication for your anxiety, but maybe you're not seeing a counselor or something, it's only short term because it's gonna come back when the medication wears off. Kind of like the weed, it's gonna come back when the weed wears off. So something I'm gonna touch on in a little bit with like my personal story with anxiety and weed is you only really experience higher anxiety if you're genetically vulnerable to experiencing that feeling. So if there's something in your genetics that's wired to, I would say, cause anxiety in your body, and you smoke weed that has like a high THC level, it's going to cause you to feel that anxiety that much more because you're genetically modified that way. There's also something within you called the endocannabinoid system, which is it's like a processor for stress and anxiety in the brain. So it's like every single area that has that in your brain is responsible for stress and anxiety in that certain point. I'm pretty sure we all know what weed is by now, especially with my like little background information right there. And with the world that we live in today, it's the stuff that just gets you high, right? Like Snoop Dogg said, just smoke weed every day. Smoke weed every day. Don't do that. So I actually started smoking weed back when I was a freshman in high school. I was 15 years old, and I was dating someone at the time who had a parent who, you know, was smoking weed, and so they got into it, and then, you know, I'm dating them and I'm hanging around them and I'm young, and I just got into it too. And I should have known better because there's been some things in my family before related to drugs and whatnot, and I should have just known right then and there to say no, and then broke up with that person. But I was young, dumb, just really not aware of kind of what was going on. I was just being dumb. Honestly, didn't really feel the effects that much back then. Feeling a lot more tired, even though I said I didn't really feel too much effects. I just felt a lot more tired. Like I remember I would go to football practice and just kind of feel very sluggish, and I would say like my motivation was down a lot. That was really the only effect I felt, was being tired And I'm actually happy that this happened. A few months later, my mom found in my search history like how to make an apple pipe, and my dad just was like, hey, have you been, you know, smoking weed? And I just answered truthfully. I started bawling, crying, and you know, I was basically on like home arrest for a little while, which I'm actually grateful that happened. I would say blessed that that happened, because it got me out of a really bad situation and a bad relationship that could have really went down the long road if I continued to stay there. I know what you guys are probably thinking, Levi just stopped smoking weed after that point, never smoked weed again, but I think you guys have to remember that I made stupid decisions in 9th grade, and I also made stupid decisions in 12th grade. In a previous video, I've talked about how I kind of had like a partying phase, and that goes in a good correlation with the smoking weed, because any time I was at a party is basically when I would smoke weed. So if you guys haven't checked that video out, maybe check it out after this one. But anyway, 12th grade is when I actually experienced, like, I would say, an effect from the weed on like my physical gains and my mental health. And the first time that I actually smoked weed again in 12th grade is when I had this psychological experience for the first time with it, compared to, you know, 9th grade when I just had like a physical kind of, I would say, experience with it. The first time I did it, I was at a party, and I think it was just a really fun party. And so I correlated the weed to the party, thinking that the weed was actually making the party good, but I think the party in general was just good. So I continued to smoke weed after that. I wasn't like an everyday smoker though, like, you know, I wasn't like a classified stoner or whatever. I just honestly would smoke weed whenever I was offered at a party. Like I mentioned, I had my first psychological experience with it in 12th grade after doing it for the first time in 12th grade. And you know, with every time that I did it afterward, I also had a psychological experience. In other words, what I mean is, after the first time I did it, every time afterward I had a psychological experience. And since I was having so many psychological experiences with it, afterward it was affecting my body much more than the previous first time that I ever did it back in 9th grade. So since it was messing with my mind that much more, I saw a decrease in my gains and in my lifts. So I remember I would go into the gym, and I just would not be as amped up to work out, and during my lifts I just felt weaker too. I felt like a lot more airheaded, and I just felt like I couldn't concentrate as much in my lifts, and I actually did lose my gains a little bit. I was also running a lot during that time, but I just noticed that I was losing gains because I definitely could not push as hard in the gym. I said my physical is being affected so much by my psychological, which is actually the reason why I quit. My psychological was just being, I would say, so ramped up with anxiety every single time afterward that I had a psychological experience. Like, every single psychological experience progressively got worse with my anxiety, and it led up to this one time that I was with my friends and stuff when we were at this guy's house. I did it. I remember the room turned green. I remember I went outside, threw up. I was freaking out, could not get a control on my anxiety, just freaking out. I remember the next day I was like, never again. That was like my last time pretty much like partying or doing anything too. That's why I said there's a strong correlation between it. But yeah, I remembered that was it. Like, that was the ending point for me, and I just realized that it's a really bad thing for you in the long run, and I think a lot more people need to realize that. I'm not here to bash people that, you know, do or think it's an okay thing, because there's definitely people in my life that do, and you know, I don't really have a problem with them whatsoever. It's just I don't hang around them too often. The only reason I made this video wasn't to just share my experience with it and, like, you know, my opinion on it, thinking it's bad. It's to, you know, essentially help other people make smarter decisions, because I don't think it's a smart decision to do it, but you know, your call, you do what you want with your life, you have the free will to do it. But I also just wanted to kind of emphasize, like I kept mentioning, anxiety in it, because in some of my previous videos, maybe some of you guys are new here, I've mentioned before, you know, or talked about, you know, some of my anxiety episodes. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. Hope you guys liked this video. Hope it was a little bit more informative than some of my other videos. I genuinely liked making it. I can't wait to edit this video. Episode 2 of Die Trying is now done with, but I hope you guys liked this video. If you guys did, be sure to give it a like. If any of you guys are new here, do not forget to press the subscribe button, because you guys know we'll be back. And as always, the sky's the limit, and until next time.